Grief outside waiting rooms: how to help kin of crash victims facing a mental health emergency. For several families, the wait outside the BJ Medical College morgue in Ahmedabad has turned into an agonizing ordeal. Hours under the scorching sun, clinging to the hope of retrieving the remains of loved ones lost in the Air India Flight 171 tragedy. In one instance, 2 skulls were discovered in a single body bag handed to relatives who came to collect the remains of their loved one. In another, a man broke down, pleading with officials to give him the whole body of his family members for their last rites. Such traumatic stories are becoming regular outside the college. For these families, the stress can be physically and psychologically devastating. While many of us may not know how to care for someone experiencing acute grief, NEWS 18 spoke to mental health experts and psychiatrists to help people recognize symptoms and extend support. What are the symptoms of acute grief? Mental health experts told NEWS 18 that what may appear as just waiting is, in reality, a traumatic medical and emotional emergency. They believe the impact of such uncertainty and prolonged distress can manifest physically as well as emotionally. Symptoms of grief in such cases are not just emotional. Many people report chest pain, headaches, breathlessness, or even feeling faint. The reaction after receiving a trauma or traumatic news is amplified, both emotionally and physically, explained Dr. Bhargav Sivalu, consultant at the Psychiatry Department, Apollo Hospital, Chennai. The relatives of the victims must be going through an acute stress reaction, where the severity and form vary. A state of shock, acute grief, and feeling of helplessness are 3 major responses. On the first day of hearing the traumatic news, Sivalu said, some physical signs may appear that mimic medical symptoms. Most common are chest pain, which is also known as broken heart syndrome. A person feels palpitations and a feeling of chest tightness. The person could also feel butterflies in the stomach, as we know the gut is the second brain, and it responds to the trauma. Nausea and stomach cramps appear, followed by loss of appetite. Dr. Ambarish Ghosh, a psychiatrist at CMRI in Kolkata, also listed several symptoms the families might be facing due to acute grief. A hollow feeling in the stomach, tightness or heaviness in the chest, throat, breathlessness, fatigue, dry mouth, appetite changes, sleep difficulties, and aches or pains are some of the possible symptoms. These symptoms arise because grief triggers stress hormone release cortisol, adrenaline, which affects multiple body systems, including the cardiovascular, immune, and digestive systems. How do waiting areas intensify the trauma? Doctors say that waiting areas near morgues can intensify the trauma of grieving families, deepening their distress and leaving lasting emotional and physical scars. These waiting rooms are the worst place to be, said Dr. Shobha Sharma, consultant psychologist at Yashoda Super Speciality Hospital, Ghaziabad. It's full of silence, crying, and confusion. Some people break down and scream. Others go completely quiet and stare at the walls. People might start shaking, hyperventilating, or collapse. These families in morgues and identification rooms can erupt into mental breakdowns with panic attacks, dissociation, hallucinations, or uncontrollable crying. Cold, sterile surroundings maximize emotional suffering. Some families will break down or need to be sedated. Adding to the psychological toll is the often chaotic and delayed identification process. In cases where families are handed remains in confusing or fragmented conditions, the trauma deepens further. Psychological effect is compounded further when identification is delayed or muddled. Receiving several skulls, for instance, resulting in confusion and horror, added Dr. Vinit Banga, neurologist at Fortis Escorts Hospital, Faridabad. This may result in long-term trauma, including post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD). The body and mind act as if in crisis, amplifying physical as well as emotional pain. In such circumstances, usually people experience psychological responses such as panic attacks and catatonia, said Dr. Neil Shah Barwani, counselor and psychotherapist at Apollo Spectra Hospital in Chirag Enclave, Delhi. Catatonia is a severe mental state where a person becomes immobile, unresponsive, or shows unusual movements. Crisis counseling experts say that although there is no formal provision for professional therapy or counseling, these grieving families are the ones who need it the most. Health bodies like the World Health Organization, WHO, and the Red Cross recommend immediate psychological care for families in such high trauma situations. Global protocols from some organizations like WHO continuously emphasize the immediate psychological treatment of these families, said Dr. Barwani from Apollo Spectra. This care includes creating a safe and healthy environment, listening with compassion to these families, and ensuring that they are not left alone. Follow-up care is also crucial, as acute grief can transition into a complicated grief disorder. For some, especially for those who receive the remains of their loved ones in a very confusing state, it often leads to a profound sense of helplessness, distrust, and existential despair, Barwani added. Experts mention psychological first aid (PFA), developed by the WHO, the Red Cross, and other international agencies. PFA is the internationally recommended approach for providing immediate emotional and psychological support in disasters and crises. Sivala from Chennai's Apollo explained that these guidelines tell us first to create a sense of safety for these families. For instance, take them away from a place where people are yelling, shouting, or are angry, and then offer them calm and comfort. Don't ask them immediately what's wrong. Swipe left for next video. The next steps, according to PFA, are ensuring basic needs are met, followed by listening with compassion, connecting people to information and services, and protecting from further harm. The family members and relatives of these victims, according to psychiatrists and mental health experts, are advised to go for professional counseling to help their brains and bodies recover from the trauma. Latest blogs.